California fast food workers will be paid $20 per hour next year as Gavin Newsom raises the minimum wage by $4.50 per hour, which is kind of crazy because that's a huge bump. But also, there's so many side effects that people don't really think about it. Yeah, okay, some people will be getting a bump in their pay, but guess what? Like, let's say that you have like 10 employees getting paid like the $15, 15.50 per hour. That was their original like minimum wage. Well, what's to stop someone from like firing like 70% of the workforce, paying 20 bucks per hour for the remaining employees, and just have like a machine do what the other people did? So yeah, you got some people making more money, but then you're going to have other people that basically just lose their jobs outright. Not to mention, when you increase the minimum wage of an area, right, every single thing within that state will end up eventually increasing in cost. So the cost of living will increase as well, thus making this $20 per hour minimum almost mute, like almost like basically mean like nothing because they are going to be spending more money, right? So it's basically like you're not really like changing anything. You might be changing the numbers, but the result is basically the same. So it's kind of like interesting. Not to mention, people who tend to be working minimum wage usually don't understand personal finance to hardly any degree, and they're probably not going to be utilizing this bump in pay for their benefit, which is sad, right? So, California fast food workers will be paid at least $20 per hour next year under a new law signed Thursday by Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom. They will have among the highest minimum wages in the country when the law takes effect on April 1st, according to the University of California Berkeley Center for Labor Research and Education. The state's minimum wage for all other workers, $15.50 per hour, is already among the highest in the United States. Securing fast food workers and labor leaders gathered around Newsom as he signed the bill at the Service Employees International Union in LA. This is a big deal, Newsom said. The reality is, not really. Because again, cost of living is going to increase, property prices are going to increase, grocery prices are going to increase, like everything's literally going to increase in cost. Newsom's signature reflects the power and influence of labor unions in the nation's most populous state, which have worked to organize fast food workers in an attempt to improve their wages and working conditions. It also settles, for now at least, a fight between labor and business groups over how to regulate the industry. In exchange for higher pay, labor unions have dropped their attempt to make fast food corporations liable for the misdeeds of their independent franchise operators in California, an action that could have upended the business model on which the industry is based. So, to put it into like more simple terms, say for example, you had a McDonald's location near your home, and let's say that someone of that like business, right, committed some sort of crime to a customer or did something very bad and ended up getting sued. Well, only that location is going to get sued and be responsible for whatever happens, not the whole big massive corporation. So you're not going to be seeing a lot of these like crazy big lawsuits like you've seen before within the state, because you're not going to be able to sue for like $1 billion or like, like half a billion or whatever, like nothing crazy, right? Maybe a few hundred grand, maybe a million, but you're not going to see like crazy numbers in terms of like lawsuits because it's not going to be the big corporation's responsibility. Now maybe they could choose to help out or whatever, but like you're not going to be able to potentially sue the big corporation. But you could sue that nearby location near your home for doing the misdeed that they did. So, I mean, it's kind of sad in a way. It's like, okay, so you traded a higher pay to potentially not actually really protect yourself in a way, almost. It's kind of interesting. The industry, meanwhile, has agreed to pull a referendum related to worker wages off the 2024 ballot. This is for my ancestors. This is for all the farm works, all the cotton pickers. This is for them. We ride on their shoulders, said Anisha Williams, who works at a Jack in the Box restaurant in Southern California. California's fast food workers earn an average of $16.60 per hour, or just over $34,000 per year, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's below the California Poverty Measure for a family of four, a statistic calculated by the Public Policy Institute of California and the Stanford Center on Poverty and Equality that accounts for housing costs and publicly funded benefits. In California, most fast food workers are over 18, and the main providers for their family, according to Enrique Lopez Lira, director of the University of California, Berkeley's Labor Center's Low Wage Work Program. The $20 minimum wage is just a starting point. The law creates a fast food council that has the power to increase the wage each year through 2029 by 3.5%, or the change in averages for the U.S. Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, whichever is lower. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But again, I just don't think a lot of people see the side effects of this. There's always a cause and effect to everything in life, right? And so there's going to be a lot of effects of this decision that maybe a lot of people are just not going to see coming or not realize is actually happening until potentially it's too late. But yeah, this also kind of puts small businesses into a pretty bad spot. Like this person says, "How to Destroy Small Business" by Gavin Newsom, because now the only corporations that can really afford to pay the minimum wage are the big corporations, meaning people are going to potentially lose their jobs because those small businesses, which is the largest employers of people, are not going to be able to operate as a business anymore because they're going to have to raise the prices of their products so high to justify paying the employee 20 bucks an hour, to the point where it almost doesn't even make sense at some point. So it's pretty sad when you think about it. You gotta always find that right balance and stuff. Let's see. The workers will not be able to afford the food they are making. Minimum wage is intended for high school students and those entering the workplace. It is not supposed to be a living wage. A burger, chip, and drink will now cost $52. Who knows? I mean, in California, things are so expensive. Gavin just killed off the fast food worker in California. Here comes the automation. Yeah, the automation is going to get super heavy in California. For example, near me, let's say that I go to a McDonald's near me, they're more and more and more going straight up full automation, where if you want to deal with a person, you might be waiting 10 minutes before you actually deal with a person, right? To actually take an order, because you're pretty much going to be using a kiosk to order something, which is kind of crazy when you really think about it. It's oh wow, of course they would rather do a kiosk that could just be automated and have people just making the food without having to deal with people. like because you save a lot of money on labor. I think what a lot of people don't understand, especially when it comes to business or whatever, the biggest expense to pretty much every single business is usually labor. So, if they're trying to make labor even more expensive, you have to counteract that by probably going down the automation route. Not to mention, when you start introducing AI to the deal, like it's going to get crazy, right? You're going to have so many people at these the low skilled jobs, right? To where you're just going to lose so many of them. Like so many of them. I mean, you're going to have a couple making more money than they ever did before, but you're going to have all the others potentially be losing their jobs. It was like you don't want to see people losing their jobs for nothing that they did, but it's going to potentially happen. And that still won't help to cover rent. California is doomed. Yeah, rent in California is apparently so crazy. I think I saw somewhere where it was like one time like 500 or 600 bucks per month for like 300 square feet or something, like something crazy, like no space, nothing. I don't even think it had like a kitchen or something crazy. I think I even saw like something being sold for like $1 million, like a trailer being sold for $1 million in California before. But I think that was technically in Malibu on like on a beach. It was like a little tiny piece of like land. So you own like the trailer in the like plot of land that was like 200 square feet or something like that, and it was within walking distance to like the beach in Malibu. But to me, I was like, Jesus. Like I saw that on Zillow. I'm like, what is this? And it's like $1 million for like a trailer. Like, what is going on here? Because I visited California, and I was just like, wow, this is like depressingly, disgustingly high prices. Yeah. Feel free to give your thoughts if you stumble upon this. Do you like the idea of a higher minimum wage? Do you not like the idea of a higher minimum wage? To me, it's just the way that I view these minimum wage increases is like there's not really enough benefit that comes from it versus the potential effects, like the negative effects that potentially can come from it. But who knows?